Oh, RoboCop. Now there's a RoboCop kind of on the streets in Atlanta. Please welcome Amir Farokhi to the show. Hey, Amir.
Hey, Barnes. Leslie, it's great to be with y'all.
Now you're in the old 4th Ward, right? That's your district as a councilman?
It is, amongst a few other neighborhoods, downtown, midtown included, but I do represent the old 4th Ward.
And I know you've been kind of the mouthpiece on this new robot, this RoboCop-looking thing that's patrolling, I know specifically an apartment complex, but it's on the city streets, right?
Yeah, so it's a robot, a public safety robot that has cameras on it and takes in data, anything that's publicly available, and it sits adjacent to a private apartment complex, but occasionally does use a public sidewalk.
He has a name, Amir. Come on.
I'm not that close to him.
I've heard his name is Spunky.
Spunky?
I've not been told this. Yeah.
I looked it up, and apparently its name is Spunky, but it looks funky.
Well, Spunky is watching you when you walk by, so...
Now tell me, now old 4th Ward, the crime stats are insane, right? Just in the last year alone.
Well, I wouldn't say that. The Old 4th Ward is one of our biggest neighborhoods, and it has pockets that are remarkably safe along the East Side Trail, Pond City Market, Sweet Auburn. But we have a corridor, the Boulevard corridor, that runs kind of north-south through the middle of it. And we have persistent crime problems on that corridor.
An 11 Alive story I saw listed, everything from rape to murder to, and they were talking about how it was a high volume year. I guess it's mostly on that Boulevard corridor.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I do think it's important to put this in context. I mean, since the last 24 years, violent crime is down almost 75% in the city.
Good.
Property crime is down almost 70%. And it's to say what you said, it sounds a bit alarmist. I mean, crime is down even from where the pandemic was to pre-pandemic levels. So the city is remarkably safe, though there are obviously challenges that exist, and this is one of those corners.
Let me be clear. I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but this is Atlanta. I know people joke about it, but I mean, I'm sure you look on Instagram at the stuff that comes up on what's that one, ATL Scoop. It blows my mind how much stuff that they, A, get fast, but B, it exists daily just in Atlanta in general. But you guys are being very proactive, or them, with this robot thing. You're telling me that thing hasn't been like pushed over or shot at or anything yet?
Not that I can tell. I'm actually a little bit surprised, like you.
I know.
I see it pretty regularly. It looks like it's brand new, and it's moving around, and no one's graffitied it or spray painted it or knocked it over. And that may be because they're being watched by the robot.
It is 400 pounds, though, Barnes. So,
yeah.
Well, Amir, explain how it works, because this robot is kind of, policing the neighborhood. What is it doing?
It is paid for and housed by Wingate, which owns a number of properties on the Boulevard corridor. And so the robot largely sits in front of one or more of their properties. Occasionally, it'll kind of go up and down the sidewalk. It doesn't have a huge range. It's not patrolling the entire Old 4th Ward. It's just a few blocks. But it's taking in, per the owner, the manufacturer, just whatever is publicly available. It's not looking for individuals. It's not doing facial ID or recognitions work. I think it's kind of keeping an eye on things where we have some persistent crime problems, drug trade, sometimes robberies, things of that sort.
Who's watching? Like who's in the eyeballs of that thing? Is there a human, or is it just capturing?
My understanding is just capturing. There's no live monitoring of it.
Really? Okay.
That's my understanding. The Wingate, who pays for it and either leases it or owns it, would have to answer that question. APD is not plugged into it. It's privately collected data, so to the extent they want to share it with the police department if something happens, that's up to the private entity.
But I saw in the 11 Alive story that it does have the ability to call the police.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. Which you got to wonder, how does it, is it using AI to say,
right,
here's a crime and this is really happening and I'm going to call the police?
That's a great question. I don't know. And the questions you're asking are interesting questions that are going to continue to arise as technology plays a bigger and bigger role in our lives, right? We have all sorts of surveillance cameras across the city. But when you have something that's a little more interactive like this, it raises all sorts of questions around privacy, liability, responsibility. So I think these questions are going to continue to increase, particularly as we look to tech to supplement what the police and firefighters do on a regular basis.
Leslie, you remember about a year ago, there was a story, there was a company coming out with these drones that they park on your rooftop, and you can they go up and patrol basically your land and around your house, and it can do the same thing. It can take pictures. It can send video. You can go in with your phone and look at it. I mean, maybe it fires missiles. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
This robot would actually make me feel a little bit safer if I saw it patrolling the streets.
And that's what residents have said, even residents who live in those apartment complexes.
Totally.
So there's been very little neighborhood backlash against it. You mentioned drones, Barnes. Brookhaven, City of Brookhaven, the police department uses drones to kind of respond to traffic accidents, to see where they need to deploy real live people. Yeah. So that's the direction I think public safety is going.
And they're in a tough area to do it because of PDK, and they have restrictions on height because, man, that could get ugly trying to, them fly out somewhere fast and there's a plane coming in at the same time. But the robot does look like R2-D2. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks like a big R2-D2.
That may be why he hasn't been pushed over yet. Everyone wants to give him a hug instead. I mean, he does have a warm, fuzzy look to him, even though he's watching you.
I guess.
This is an interesting case study. I'm just wondering, Barnes, in the next month or two, if we're going to see more of this in other neighborhoods in Atlanta.
Bring one of those bad boys over to Lennox. Like, come on. Yeah. I mean, can we get one for water boys, too? They go out and just squirt them the whole time and make them mad to leave. But anyway, how long have you been in office? Twice, right?
This is my 7th year. I'm in my second term, the back half of my second 4-year term.
Well, congratulations. And how long have you been in Atlanta?
So, born and raised, grew up in Marietta, East Cobb, but this is a bit of a thrill for me because for the mid-'90s when I drove to and from high school, I listened to the Morning X in the mornings, and so it's good it's good to be with y'all. Yeah.
That is so cool. Thank you.
Love that. Great to meet you. Amir Farokhi, who's down there in the old 4th Ward with the robot. Yeah. And the robot is going to keep you. I love it. I would absolutely want one roaming my street.
Y'all come by.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
It's good to meet you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99X.